So, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I wanted to talk about Atlantis. I
Perfect.
I know you know a lot about it already. How did you find out about Atlantis? Because I didn't really know much about it. I mean, I'd heard stories and some people
Oh,
in their
really?
session. Yeah, I didn't really know. I never really researched it or anything like that. And then what happened with Jen having the brain tumor, and then
Uh-huh.
the brain tumor actually linked her to a different lifetime where she could see that lifetime in Atlantis. I started learning so much about it. And
Oh
it's
man, it's fascinating stuff. Well, let's get this show on the road then. Let's begin. So today we have Sarah. She's going to talk to us about Atlantis, and she's back again. She has some new exciting news about Atlantis, and I've been dying for weeks to hear this story because it was big caps and like texts and said, Jason, we have to talk. I had a session. It was a QHHT session, correct?
yeah. So I help Julia and Kaya. I co-help them teach the level 2 classes.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes. And I went to Mount Shasta, so I was like their guinea pig. Oh, let's just use Sarah as the guinea pig to
Nice.
hypnotize Sarah. But see, I can go into hypnosis really easily. I've just developed my own little technique. I can show you if you want, but I can go into a deep level of hypnosis
Uh-huh.
myself. So they knew that.
You're like,
And
she's the one. She's the one we're gonna have doing this for us.
so I I I didn't know where I was gonna go, but I just kind of trusted, and it's super easy for me to get there, but I can't do it myself. I wish I could do like a full session on myself, but I'll either just fall asleep or I'll try to record it, and I'll think to myself, oh my God, I know all the secrets of the universe, and I won't have talked. It's like so annoying. So anyway,
Right. You kind of need that guide in a way to like keep you right there in that zone, where you don't fall asleep, but yet you're under,
it's like, that
then
state
guide
where,
you through.
yes. Or when, I don't know if this happens to you, this happens to me all the time. I'll be waking up in the morning and I'll have access to tons of information. And I'll think to myself, that's the answer I was looking for. I'm
Yeah.
never going to forget this. I'm never going to forget it. And then literally I wake up and I've totally forgotten it. So anyway, having the guide is so key. And so
That's
they were,
why they say to have like pen and paper by your bed so when you wake up.
I have that. I have that. And
Okay.
I wish I could. Oh, I still need the guide. So they were using me as the guinea pig. I went, I went straight to this lifetime where, wow, so vivid. It was Lemuria,
Okay.
and I was this man, very handsome, by the way, very handsome,
Of course, of course.
very
Handsome man.
muscular. And it was funny because I saw Jen in there. So all this time that she had been doing the sessions, I knew who she was, but I
Uh-huh.
saw her in there, which is so mind blowing. Like just
Really? Okay.
that my client, I saw her in there. She was who she said she was. Well, it was crazy. So anyway,
So now you know how y'all two are
I
connected.
know how we're connected.
Nice.
Um,
Now,
and
you was a handsome young man.
yeah,
Was she still the priestess, Jen?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
She was the ruler's daughter. It was so interesting because they're so hairy. Like
Harry?
hairy, like really like wild hair. And like these flat kind of noses, like kind of look like the Maoris a little bit, kind of stocky, it
Okay.
seemed. And
That's interesting. Oh
yeah,
man, what
right?
they call those heads in South America, Olmec tribe. There's some
Oh,
heads and their nose are kind of like flat.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
It's really interesting. And
Wow.
yeah, and they had like these like gold jewels. which is interesting. Like, I don't know, but very primitive, just really primitive. But I guess because they were so primitive, they received so many intuitive messages. Like they were very spiritual, and it was very women run. So I was a man, of course, in this women run.
You had to obey their orders.
Yeah. Anyway, so I we we were in the scene, and I saw that. That's really cool. I saw that there were these waves coming.
The Atlantis waves, or
Yeah,
from
it,
from the bomb, right? The explosion.
it was like, see, I didn't know what was going on. Am I watching it from that perspective? Like as
Gotcha.
the practitioner, I do know other things, but I'm so focused when I'm in hypnosis. I'm like so out in hypnosis. I
Right.
just feel it, see it really vividly. It was so cool. And I saw the waves. They went like one totally like went over the island, and
Wow.
then another one went over them. But guess what? I was on like the south side of the island. There was a part of the island that didn't totally get wiped out, and there were the boats there. Like that's what part of my job was. I did a lot of expeditions, try to like keep everybody safe. So we had all these boats there, and the people started filling in the boats.
That's
Okay.
funny. Then you sell boats.
Yeah, of course, I know, and I live on the ocean. We get in these boats and this whole bunch, but we don't have any food with us because no one was prepared, didn't know this was going to happen today. And so we get in these boats, and we know from our expeditions that there's this place, it's California, that there's this place that we had been before. So it takes us 2 months to get to this place. And
Interesting.
we get there, and we stay on the beach. It was pretty devastating, to be honest with you, that feeling like losing everything, and just there's hardly any hope. Also, getting to that beach area in California, we didn't have that much food, but we happened to catch some fish, and it rained. So, in our, what we believed was that we were being helped by a lot of ancestors and stuff. So then we dock on this beach, and someone decides to go hike up this mountain. And they come back right away, and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys, we all need to go into this mountain. And when we get to the mountain, there are like these caves in there, and they go really deep, and we start chiseling away at these caves. It's Mount Shasta. I'm in Mount Shasta. I didn't know the Lemurian connection. Did you?
Yes. For me, yes. For me,
How did
yes.
you know that?
That's funny that you did not know that.
And then we dig.
But that's good. That is good because this like, validates things. That's good.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we dig holes into the mountain. First of all, we hate being cold, and it's like cold. And also, we're all so devastated, because we lost everything, and it feels really safe to go into these like holes and caverns. And then, we do have some crystals with us, so we use this kind of like crystal technology.
Oh, you got to explain that.
Yeah, and like a phosphorescence to create light. So we are able to like create this like green glowing light in these caves,
Mm-hmm.
and just set up like our Lemurian civilization there. And meanwhile, I like get old and I die, and even though we were devastated, we were able to kind of create our Lemurian civilization. And I come out and I'm like, that was Mount Shasta. This is Mount Shasta on,
Right,
like
right. Because
not thinking
QHHT had a group retreat, right, in a class at Mount
it was,
Shasta. And,
yeah, it was a level 2 class, then a retreat. And I think people think I was shaking, and there was like no way I could make it up. Like my whole body was shaking, and I don't really remember much of it, the SD part. But I had no idea that they went to now Shasta. But I saw this, like, when I was in that life, I saw the visitors from Atlantis.
Huh. Like they were in Mount Shasta already?
No, no, no. When they were in Lemuria, they were
Oh,
coming
okay.
on us, and they came with these, like, it was like this like hovercraft where they you couldn't see them, and they would just arrive and they would be there. It was strange technology. It was really crazy. Really, like, angular faces, like white, like tall, and like they were just really, like, pretty, I guess you would say. Like
Mhm.
very cosmetically, like, beautiful. It was,
Gotcha.
yeah, it was
Was that
really,
the ones with the white hair and stuff like that? Or blonde hair?
yeah, they did have blonde hair. And they did have that, like, this weird, like, suit. It was weird. But they were very, like, beautiful. Like they had, like, cat-like eyes. And some had, like, purple eyes. But they
Oh,
were just, like, kind of, like, unfriendly, the Atlanteans.
yeah.
Always,
Interesting, interesting. So did y'all stay in the caves long? Did y'all,
yeah,
in other
there's,
words, did you die in the caves? Like, did y'all set up like a
yeah,
civilization in the mountains?
yeah. It felt like just like home after a while. I mean,
Right.
we still came out to get food and stuff like that. And I I know they're still there.
You would think, right?
It's just a feeling. I don't know. It's like, but I doubt it's like the same, you know.
Not. Did they record the session for you? Did
They
they
did.
give you?
I'm too afraid to listen to it because
Who, you?
yeah,
Why?
I don't know.
It might have some juicy information in there for you.
I know. But something super embarrassing happened during it. So
Oh, okay. We don't have to talk about that.
no, I'll tell you because well, it was
Did
crazy.
something happen in your session outside of the session, or something happened while you was under hypnosis and you were seeing something under hypnosis?
I was seeing something under hypnosis.
Okay, okay.
Actually, I don't want to tell you. You'll find out.
You sure? Because evidently there's no recordings posted out there.
Oh, good.
You know, so I don't know. Um,
Because
well, so how was so the people you was with, how did they look like? Did they look like Jen's people, or were they a little bit different looking?
the people from Lemuria,
Hmm.
they all looked like Jen's people.
Okay. The
They,
shorter, stocky,
yeah,
muscular, and
yeah, yeah.
hair.
But like as I left that life, I could see that they changed. Like because I was leaving that life and just could kind of see a little bit of the future, and they had all become really thin and whiter.
Yeah, because
And
they're underground, so
yeah,
their body's adapting, I guess.
yeah, it was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, what do you know about Atlantis and Egypt? Because I'm going there next.
Ooh, that is interesting. I don't know if I want to tell you or not.
Yeah.
I don't want to influence you.
Oh, dear doggy.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like some of the stories I've heard is that when Lemuria fell, a lot of people went to California, Mount Shasta, and
How
then
did you know that? How did you hear that?
Tom T. Moore's book states that. So, and do I have his? Yes, I do have his book here. So, uh, so in this book, Tom T. Moore, he talks about Atlantis and Lemuria, and that how a lot of survivors went to Mount Shasta. They went to South America and Hawaii. And from what I understood, Hawaii was like their vacation grounds where they would go to have their vacations, pretty much. Like it was a very sacred and very powerful place for them. So, and that's how I knew about Lemuria. And then also, I don't think Dolores Cannon's book talks about Lemuria that much, but even Mount Shasta, they did talk about like beings and civilizations being underground.
I
And one
heard
of the
that, the lost city of Telos.
and one of the places that had a civilization was under Mount Shasta. So
Yeah.
the inner earth beings, that was one of many places. So, and for Egypt, I don't want to influence you on anything, but
Oh, I wanted to know.
I
Where
will
was
tell you the story because it's fascinating because Edgar Casey's books and Dolores Cannon's books talked about the same thing where,
you shouldn't tell me.
okay,
You're gonna do another one of these on me there.
nice. Well, you know, I don't know, but it's fascinating and it's also different times as well. It's not like Atlantis fell and then people said, okay, we're going to go on the ground. It's like a period of time happened, like thousands, well, not thousands, but hundreds of years passed from what I understand. um, some people, even from Atlantis, like the more spiritual one, like the spiritual ones, the high, the high, that knew that people were living in inner earth and underground. They went to Mount Shasta in one of the books. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. Um, and for, and I would even say this for like, so you have Edgar Casey, Dolores Cannon, and a QHHT session that's on YouTube where the person is saying that, like, yeah, you think the sacred treasure or the hidden knowledge is under the Sphinx, which is, I don't know if you know about that. There's supposed to be like a
Yeah,
hidden
I've heard of
secret
that. Yeah.
underneath the paw of the Sphinx. They said
Uh-huh.
that's nothing compared to what's truly underneath the pyramid.
Oh, wow.
So, and then that pyramid has tunnels where the other Atlanteans went underground because the greed, the power,
Yeah.
they didn't want to be part of the Earth experiment anymore, and they knew that things were doing wonderful down there because it's a different type of frequency, a different energy versus being above the Earth's surface. So
Wow.
they're like, forget this, we're done, we're going below and join our other brothers and sisters down there. And then some of them went to the Gobi Desert. So, and throughout, they traveled a lot. So, they went through many parts of the world. but But how I got into it was you mentioned how did I know anything about Atlantis? And that's kind of like a gray question because even when I was younger and something will come on TV, for example, the TLC channel, Discovery History Channel, and they'll mention Atlantis, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this all about? And I'll watch it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting, and then move on. But like anytime I heard something about it, I stopped what I was doing to listen
Wow.
without even like thinking about it. Like if I was like, let's say if I was cutting the grass and I came inside to get, you know, a drink and I heard something about Atlantis, I would stop what I was doing and say, hey, well, so, okay, so, all right, that's interesting. And then I learned about Edgar Casey, about his information, and they said that on the History Channel, like he was doing channelings. So for Edgar Casey, they'd had a special, I think it was on the History Channel, and they were doing a documentary, and they were talking about how he would give these sessions from the Akashic Records, and it dealt from everything from healing, Atlantis, maybe a little bit about Lemuria, ancient Egypt, how he had a past life in ancient Egypt, and I think he had a past life in Atlantis too. And that's kind of like how he knew so much about different things. and how he was a high priest in Egypt. So I'm like, okay. And I noticed he had some books, reading the books, and some interesting things came out of it. And so I'm reading the books, and I'm like, okay, that's good. That's interesting. Put the book down. Probably a couple of years go by. I'm watching Ancient Aliens, and the Crystal Skulls book came out. So Karen's like, oh, I have a book about crystal skulls. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, here it is. And it's this thick book. And I'm like, Karen, you read all this? And she's like, no, I didn't read all that. She said, I only read half of it. So I started reading it, and come to find out the crystal skull was part of the Atlantean race, possibly. So, and it started talking about information about how you can channel the crystal skull and they'll give you information. Well, one of the things that came through was talking about how you think you're so advanced now, but you're nowhere compared to where you used to be.
Right.
And I'm like, how can that be? Like, there's no way. I was like, we got cars, we got planes. And they were like, in that session, they were talking about you had all that plus a lot more. You had free energy, free health. You know, it was a lot. You had more technology to heal. You had easier way of transportation. Like, all this would put your technology to shame. It caught my interest. I was like, there's no way. So then I started looking up for more information. Then I learned about Dolores Cannon stuff. And then after Dolores Cannon, that's what took the cake. Like, from her sessions, like I bought her Convoluted Universe Part 1 book.
Oh yeah, I love that book.
The first one. And I went straight to the Atlantis section. I was like, Atlantis. Boom. Started reading that section. And just the information from that was like, okay, now I kind of see where they're talking about our technology now compared to what it used to be in the past, and how we destroyed ourselves once before, and we're on the verge of doing it again if we don't change something around the mid-90s to the 2000s, you know? So, and like the stuff he was seeing was just amazing in his session that he was talking about. Kind of like how you were saying, like, you know, they had like this look of Hollywood. They look very looking, you know, like, wow, these people look like they just walked out of a movie set, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then in the Dolores Cannon's book, they talk about how some of the civilization went underground while the wars were going on. So.
Wow, it makes sense. Because I have clients that'll say, oh, we're headed towards like just instant manifestation, you know, where it's just super easy to manifest whatever you want. And that then there's going to have to be something new, because that gets boring. Like, we think that's so great. Oh, let's make.
And we've been there before, from what they said. Like, we've been there. If you look at other sessions that deal with other planets, like past lives on other planets, they're like, you've been there.
Right.
Y'all got bored.
Exactly. And
adventure, so now y'all are here.
and oh my gosh, I hear it all the time. Like, the ET races or whatever will say, you know, you guys are lucky. You guys have your physical bodies. You have emotions, which is so special. You know, you have problems. And I'm like, I don't think any of us really like problems. So, like, no, it's amazing. You know, it's like just feeling the experience. That's what they would like, you know, to feel.
Right.
I mean, they're happy, obviously, where they are, but
right.
But people come here, or people, that's why beings come here to experience this, you know, this 3D reality. And they always say, don't wish your body away, you know, just enjoy the ups and downs of this, like, this dense experience.
Now, so you had a past life in Lemuria. Did you tell Jen how you know her? I guess you did.
I did, yeah.
I'm assuming, see, a lot of people that had a past life in Atlantis had a past life in Lemuria. Now,
I'm sure.
did you have a past life in Atlantis?
I don't know.
Okay.
I, um, I've done a few on, me, but I haven't seen that yet. That will be
Yeah.
really interesting. I'm excited for Egypt when I get another session to see. I bet that one's going to be crazy.
Nice. And with you going to Egypt, it's pretty cool. It's up to you if you want to watch the video I did with my client, and that's on my channel. But
Oh, I'm going to watch that.
she had a past life in Egypt, and
Send
she
me
brought
that
up
link.
some interesting points.
What?
Um, the light beings, how the light beings were assisting us and like showing us different things. And she said in her mind, she called them the falling angels, but these were like an ET race that came from another planet to help us out because we fell and we were trying to rebuild, and like this race came in to help us to like get us back on our feet, how to farm, how to do different things, how to build, teach us the stars and teach us mathematics. She said that they had a certain glow to them, like they will glow, like light will come out their bodies with a glow.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's like, oh, they're beautiful, they have a beautiful look to them, they're very loving and kind. So
That's so cool. Can
right.
you send me that link?
Uh-huh.
I really want to watch that.
Yep. And I'll
Some
post that link below too in the description.
perfect. Now, some people talk about like the Anunnaki or like a different race that had. I've had some clients have sessions where they were building the pyramids, and there was like this race of beings that were kind of like assisting them, and so it's confusing to me. I'm really curious as to what happened there because then I've also had had people come in their sessions say that the information was downloaded in a person's dream, like these mathematical equations to build the pyramids. So it's like maybe different time periods,
Oh,
possibly.
that's interesting.
And it was interesting. One person described how they used like the Fibonacci sequence. So I was like, that's really interesting. Like it was all sacred geometry, and everything is connected to that. And the pyramid went up to resemble the Earth, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's like an equation that equals the radius of the Earth is
Yeah,
to the circumference or the perimeter of the pyramids, the way it equals
yeah,
out. So
yeah. It's really interesting. How
yeah,
come you're not going? You got to go to Egypt too.
you're going in December, correct?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to help teach the level 2 class, and then I'm going to be there for the reunion.
yeah. I don't know. It's in December, so I got a couple of things going on, but you know, and then I just got back from a trip.
Oh, yeah. World traveling,
hmm So it's kind of like it. Maybe if it was in February, I could swing it. So it
Right.
might have been a little bit easier, but I'm like, oof.
Well, I just feel like it's so exciting. It's such exciting times because I feel like all this knowledge, all that used to be lost or totally put away, is like flooding to the surface. It's
Yes.
everywhere. And it's like,
And
oh,
there's a reason for that.
for the big awakening.
Well, it's even in sessions where they said, you're going to need some of the knowledge from the past and to understand your past to move
Oh,
forward.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're going to need lost knowledge that will help
Right.
you in the future. And then also you need the knowledge from the past that makes you understand your past, you know?
Yeah. This is really interesting too because I started doing past life regressions about 11 years ago, and people would be so out. It's so true that the human consciousness is evolving because people would be out and they wouldn't remember their sessions even like 10, 11 years ago. And now, because human consciousness is evolving, people have awareness in these deep states, in like the theta brainwave state. They have awareness. It's like our brains are totally changing. So we're like becoming our higher self, you know? And then knowledge has like risen to the surface. So it's like we can move further into it instead of going deeper. It's like everywhere, kind of like right here, you know?
Nice.
Go further into it, if that makes sense, instead of having to go so deep to get it, because it was so unacceptable before.
Right.
Now it's not as unacceptable. It's like all over, everywhere.
Did you see anything else with Lemuria by any chance before it was destroyed or anything like that? Or anything else you noticed?
Yeah.
How did the crystal thing work?
Yeah.
How did that work?
So it was really interesting. See, I know from the sessions with Jen how it works, but my own personal experience in it, I saw it from a man's perspective. And so we weren't really as part of that. Like, it was, since it was like the women had a stronger intuitive ability, they were able to like connect with the crystals, and they would like meditate on it almost to communicate with their home planet, basically. Whereas like the Atlanteans, apparently, this is from what I know from Jen's sessions, the Atlanteans were missing that aspect. They couldn't quite figure it out. So they just couldn't quite develop that part of them. And it had been passed on from mom to daughter in Lemuria, and they wanted that. They wanted it. That's why they came over to
Wow,
try
and
to
they're
get
so
it.
advanced. They would have
Yeah.
figured it out.
Yeah, they tried many different tactics, and they couldn't quite figure it out.
Yeah. But in the tunnels in Mount Shasta, you said that they were holding a crystal to light up the room. How did that work?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. All I know is there was like this phosphorescence that they used, and they did use some sort of like a crystal technology with that. And then I saw that they would divert water a certain way. So like it was like I can remember like drips just dripping down, and there'd be like mushrooms up the sides. That's what they were eating. Maybe they still do. There's lots of like stuff that grew that way. And when we first got there, we used lots of fires, but then, you know, you can't really have that, you know, it had to be lots of ventilation. But as we went deeper in, couldn't use fire. So it had to have this phosphorescent light.
Yeah. Were they digging by any chance?
Yeah, we were digging.
Like with shovels
But
and stuff, or
no,
like with crystals?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll have to hypnotize me. I don't know. Yes. I don't remember. I
Yeah.
do remember we were digging though, but
Count back
I
to 10.
yeah, I think that it got gradually deeper, like, you know, in different lifetimes. But
Yeah.
I get the sense that it was pretty deep. I mean, like miles and miles, like over 10 miles down.
Wow.
Yeah, and
What made him go so deep?
okay, well, this is probably important. I forgot to tell you. So
Tell-
the explorer, okay, so the explorer goes and he comes back right away. And he was like, everybody needs to come. So we had this feeling of just desperation and just loss. And we go up to see what he's talking about. And when you get into the Mount Shasta and climb in where he went, there's a portal. So it's like this overwhelming feeling of calm. And it was like you could communicate with different, you know, your past relatives that have already passed on, where we originated from, this like this energy kind of thing. There was a portal in there to, I guess, different realms. But I didn't really know it was a portal at the time from that perspective. I just knew that it was like this overwhelming good feeling, whereas before we felt bad, and we all felt it. So it was like, wow. And it was just this like um overwhelming feeling of like, we can do this. Kind of. Yeah.
So, and that's from that portal, you had a sense to go underground?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I mean, I'm sure it's still there. I don't really know exactly where this portal is,
Right.
but I assume that if you knew how to connect with it, you could probably go into different realms through that portal there in Mount Shasta.
Right. So what were they digging to go towards? Did
Well,
they
mostly, I mean, to be honest, mostly for safety, because I think everybody felt really bad. Like we had been so betrayed and so much loss. Plus, nobody liked the cold. When we were sleeping on the beach, it was horrible. It was,
Yeah, but
just
tell them that's California,
right.
I
I
mean,
know, but I mean,
just
from
give it a few,
Lemuria to California, it was warm, like
just
really
give it a few
hot.
thousand years.
Right. I don't know. It was very hot, like in Lemuria, like really lush and tropical and just really like you could smell the flowers everywhere. It was that feeling, like just I like Hawaii, kind of
Right.
waterfalls, and it was like really flat in the middle. Like, and there were like mountains or cliffs on the outside and really ornate really nice sculptures kind of around it, like with lots of words and um, inscribed on it, like around it. It was like it had like these stone structures around it, by and in the middle was flat. And I guess that's why it sank so easily.
Right. So it
This,
did.
according to my perspective, I don't know, what it looked like.
Right. So did it sink, or just the water just went on top of it?
The water was so heavy on top of it, and there was so much water. I mean, it was like a
Wow.
huge wave.
Wow.
But there was one part of the island that didn't get submerged right away, and that's where I happen to be standing. So I'm sure there's lots of people that probably remember or, had that same experience where the
Absolutely.
wave hit them right directly there.
Wow. Interesting. You think were they digging under Mount Shasta, these tunnels? Were they trying to get to a certain civilization that was already there, or or were they digging just to set up a new home and start a new beginning down there?
From my perspective, it just seemed like they were setting up a new home, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of like went with the flow, like not.
It just it's interesting to think, like, what
Yeah,
makes you think to dig underground and to go so deep?
right. I think mostly like the feeling of protection, first, but also that amazing feeling, like that feeling of you're being protected, like overwhelming calm, and I guess perhaps whatever that energy was
Yeah.
said go deeper. I don't know.
Okay.
But really a feeling of distrust, I think, also. Like you just lost everything. It was, you
Right.
know.
And it also could go back to like some of the books where they said, those civilizations, when they went below on the ground, they wanted to get away from the Earth experiment, and they didn't want to be part of that vibration and frequency. And
Right,
and these groups knew that if they went deep underground, they wouldn't be part of that. You know.
right, yeah. And I think it was like probably like an intuitive sense, like, they just knew that it was
Exactly.
need to be spoken. Yeah.
Nice. Did anything else happen in your session? Anything else? Lemuria or anything else?
Um, I know they asked to speak with my subconscious, and I don't remember anything about that. I think it was mostly that it was kind of like a big reunion. I think a lot of times when they have these classes, it is, everybody just kind of meets there. They planned it before coming into this lifetime.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
I bet you that the people that were in that class probably were also on the boats with me.
Absolutely. I might have been there too, probably.
I know. I'm sure we've had past lives together.
Yeah, because I mean, I think even Tracy said it herself. She's like, like for you to have that much concern or connection to it and, want to research a lot into it, there's more than likely some kind of connection there.
It'll be really interesting to find out. Why don't you like fly to see me and we'll do a session. We'll film it.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
But if you have your session, you should look into it, because
Yeah.
you might have some juicy information like, that's it. That was one of my questions.
I know. Yeah.
You're supposed to listen to your sessions.
I know. Yeah, listen to your sessions. But it was just, there were so many people watching it and, in the class, and then,
Right. Now I wish I was there.
Yeah. So you'll have to go to Egypt to see the next one.
I know. What else been going on did you have anything from Jen's session? I know one time you said something about Atlantis. You asked me some questions and I gave them to you. Were you able to get into that by any chance?
Yeah, I don't remember your questions though.
Oh, okay.
I know you did ask something about Egypt, and she couldn't see that.
Okay.
She didn't know at the time, but now I'm curious. She just had a baby, so she's super busy. I've been just having regular clients recently, which is, I feel like the healing part of the QHHT is just so, everybody's healing. It's getting easier for some reason.
You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I think because of the evolution of human consciousness, I think because people have more awareness in their sessions, their conscious mind, subconscious mind are so close together that they can make these changes so instantly. And the healing happens energetically first, but it seems to translate into the body almost spontaneously now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's incredible. I had a man heal his, can I tell you this story really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is so cool. I don't know who's coming usually. Beforehand, I'll just kind of know their name and they'll ask me a few questions and they'll just show up. Well, I had this 68-year-old man, his wife basically just dropped him off at my office, said, okay, fix him, And I was like, well, I don't fix people, I just help them heal themselves. And he could barely walk up my stairs. I was worried that maybe I'd have to, do it on the first floor because his breathing was so labored and he didn't have feeling in his feet or his legs. So he had to like kind of hobble up my stairs. And as soon as he got there, he said, I don't really believe in any of this stuff, but my wife has read all the Dolores Cannon books and
Nice.
she just wants you to fix me. I was like, again, I don't fix people, but I'm going to help you heal yourself, and he was like, well, do whatever you're going to do, but I don't believe in any of it. And he said that all he'd been doing was sitting on the couch for 10 years watching CNN, basically, because he was so sick. He couldn't really walk, and he was so sick that he was just kind of like confined to this chair. He had a huge, yeah.
Oh, you're getting a double whammy.
Yeah, I'm kind of freaking out, to be honest with you, when he came and told me all this stuff. And he had these huge swollen glands in his neck that he said he had had since he was a really young child. And They had tried everything. They had tried doctors, they had tried experiments, experimental medicine. They had a Rife machine in their house. They had tried different healers. They had tried different diets. Nothing had worked. So I'm their last resort, the very last resort.
Interesting.
Nothing new, it's fine. So we start the session, and he didn't believe in past lives, which is totally fine. So he goes into a childhood memories, totally fine, whatever works for a person. And then I start to ask his subconscious questions about different things. And oh my gosh, it had so much to say because apparently he hadn't been listening. And the subconscious started showing him different past lives, and he could barely believe what was going on, what he was
Really?
seeing. Yeah, and he saw where the swollen glands had originated, where his sickness had originated, what was causing it. He totally understood it, and then he felt totally healed. So I bring him out of the session. His glands are completely gone. And I have it all on video. They're not swollen anymore.
Really?
And he could feet. It's like the first time he's ever felt his feet in 10 years. He could feel his legs. And he's just so excited. He's so excited, he keeps talking about it. So his wife comes to pick him up, and she takes one look at him and she starts crying. She's like, oh my gosh, like she just is shaking, crying, because he keeps telling her, I'm healed. And then they're leaving my office, and the best part was, this is the best part. So they're leaving, and I said goodbye, and I heard him go to his wife, thank you so much. I think I'm going to start listening to you now.
The wife. Listen to the wife now. No way. So let me ask you this. So he had this healing and everything. What made the healing? Was him seeing his past life and understanding, or was it his higher self doing something?
I think what really causes the healing is understanding the message the body's sending. So in his case, he had a lot of messages. This is why he was so sick. The body was just trying to force him to look inwards. So when he looked at what the causes of these illnesses were and what he needed to understand from having them, then he was able to release and heal them. So the body will, like, I had this client that had a shoulder injury, and she really wanted to fix her shoulder injury, and the subconscious said, there's no way I'm not going to fix that shoulder injury because she's supposed to be a singer, and we hurt her right shoulder, so she cannot do this cleaning job. And so it's like the body is just on your side, it's not against you, but it'll have messages just so that you can, basically so that you are forced to look inwards.
Right. Absolutely.
And I feel like it's like the same with this great awakening that's going on, all this like lost knowledge coming to the surface, so you're forced to look at who you really are. Like, right. It's the same thing. I think we're just going through this huge, like, overwhelming awakening on all aspects.
For the 60-year-old guy, what was some of the things in his past life that was hurting him in this life? I'm going to
try to remember, because I kind of don't remember all the details now, but I know they showed him like a time where he was like a priest or something like that.
Okay.
I don't really remember, but it was so interesting to him because he started to see the scenes, and he just like, it was like, oh my gosh, like that feeling when you want to believe something and you never really did, but all of a sudden now you can believe it. It's so exciting, like this stuff is real kind of thing, like, oh my gosh,
wow,
like it's happening to me. Kind of thing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Cool. Do you remember?
I have the best job in the world.
Yes, especially when all kinds of cool stuff comes through. Like, I mean, for mine, I had Anubis that came through. Same Egypt video.
Oh,
Anubis came through.
oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch this. This
Same
is so
video with
perfect. Right before I go to Egypt.
yes. And what made it great was she kept on calling the name wrong. She kept on saying Anubis, like Anubi or something like that. And I was like,
Oh my
did you
gosh.
say Anubis? You know, as we're talking, she goes, yes, yes. And she pulls up on her phone. And she goes, this word right here.
Oh my gosh, it's like great confirmation because
Yeah,
she
she's like, I
didn't.
don't know what this is, and like this jackal dog looking guy is in my dreams. What is this about? I'm like, I started smiling on the inside, like, yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting. And then after that, we have the session, and as we talk about the dream, say, hey, can you explain this dream? And then sure enough, she goes, yes, that was Anubis that came to tell her this, this, and this. And she's like, oh, by the way, Anubis is here now. I'm like, really?
Oh my gosh.
So that was pretty cool.
Wow. Oh my gosh,
Uh,
everyone needs to listen to that.
So evidently he's an intergalactic traveler, and he goes, that's his job, to help people, to show them their way to the light and to be,
Wow.
and he's
Oh my
a
gosh.
dog because of, man's best friend. He'll feel comfortable, friendly. But
Wow.
yes, that was pretty neat. So yeah, we do have pretty cool jobs.
Yes. Well, what you're doing is so fantastic. Getting this information out to so many people, it's really helpful because not everybody is a QHHT practitioner, So
Right,
I think
absolutely.
we rely on people like you to
Yeah, and
have
that's
this
the thing. It's like,
knowledge.
many practitioners out there have like these great videos and recordings.
Yeah,
They don't know what to do with them because,
yeah,
and I'm like, man, this is so good. This is interesting
yeah.
stuff. But, they don't know how to convert it, how to upload it, how to deal with it.
Send your stuff to Jason.
We'll work something out. But yeah, I mean, it's worth, I mean, some of the stuff that comes through is like mind blowing, whether
No,
it's
I
the
know.
New Earth or ancient Egypt
Yeah,
or even Atlantis,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
even Roman times. It's because there's still a lot
Oh,
of
I
lost
know.
information that we don't understand even from ancient Rome.
Yeah, I know. It's
So,
really interesting.
so that's
Well,
pretty
it was
cool.
it was so nice talking to you, and I can't wait to tell you all about my Egypt trip.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted to talk to? How much more time do I have you for?
Oh, I know. No one's come to jump on me, so. Oh, I don't know if Tracy wanted to join in the conversation. I just saw something from
I
them,
sent
but.
her a link. She can join us if she would like. Um,
But yeah, like the stuff about the ascension, I get such conflicting things about it. I don't, I don't seem to get, which is really interesting to me because I know we all are like our own bubble, like each person, we're the creator of our universe, but I don't seem to get stuff like hurry up and ascend or any of that stuff. Like, am
yeah,
I
it seems
used
like we still have a lot of work on, a lot of work
Yeah.
to do.
And I always get stuff like, well, you don't want to ascend. You don't want to leave this reality until you're ready. But then I did have a session where the person was really concerned about how they were doing ascension wise, and their higher self said that they were on that path, that certain people intuitively know that they're ascending. Hi,
Hey,
how are you?
did you guys have a party going beforehand? Is that
We
what
sure
happened?
did.
Now it's a party because you're here. I miss seeing you.
Hello.
We're talking about Atlantis in the beginning, so
Yeah.
talking about.
I was telling them about my session, but I left out the cup part.
Oh, you didn't tell
Okay.
me the cup. You save that for me?
Okay.
No,
I'll
I mean,
save that for
not for me to
Tracy.
share it, but for me to hear it.
This is recording.
Okay.
You can.
Okay, let me just tell you, okay? All right, so I was leaving this part out because it was really embarrassing, but now that I see Tracy.
You want me to take it off recording?
It's going to go on Gaia, so who cares?
Oh.
All right, it's going to go on Gaia, which makes it even worse. Let me just tell you what happened, okay? Because it's going to go on Gaia, but it wasn't me.
Whatever.
Wait, I can't. It's too late, right?
You know what? It's probably not even that big of a
Okay.
deal.
You can edit this out, right?
Okay, you can edit it, right?
No. If Gaia has it, no, it's not fair.
You get
Well,
to
I
have
told
it
you.
too.
Well, I told you, like, I just go deep into the story, and I was just so focused on the story. So at one point, she was like, "What are you doing right now?" And I was like, I don't know. I think I said, "I don't know if I can tell you," or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Like, in the scene, I was aware enough to think maybe I shouldn't say what I'm doing. Well, apparently I was being rewarded, and there was a ceremony. So I was being rewarded for being really brave. I had stopped people from taking stuff from our Lemurian island, and I was being rewarded, and my reward was okay.
I think it's just fun to watch you tell it.
I mean,
It can't be that bad.
well,
It can.
yeah, it was bad. I was literally jerking off in a cup. I'm just checking, see if anybody's around.
Yeah, you say it and then check.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know, but it was
Well,
in order.
finish your story, and I will say something that might help you
Okay,
go
so
on with your
so
story.
they could have a virgin birth, so it was important to the story, but I was like, why is it this scene? Like, why this scene? In front of all these people, and I don't know. So I just said what I was doing. That is what I was doing in that scene, and it was just super embarrassing. But I took one for the team, and I just did what I was doing in that scene. But it was important to the story because
It was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it good for you, Tracy?
It was a good story, and it was a lot of fun afterwards to see all of the sacred cups showing up and gifted.
Yep. Yeah, I had a couple cups gifted to me. So yeah.
And then we got to use it for the sacred ceremony on the mountain.
Yeah, and it's it couldn't get worse.
It wasn't the same cup, I hope.
No, God. Who knows? Who knows what the way the universe works,
It may have been, yeah.
The reincarnation of the cup.
Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't doubt it the way things work. But yeah.
Well, to go with your story, so you did your business in this.
Mm-hmm. It was used to inseminate.
Okay.
Jen.
But there was 5 of them.
Was it Jen or someone else?
No, Jen.
No way. You can't edit that out. You need to have that. That's a piece of the story. But if you remember, Jen did say that
when
in the interview that we had, she said that not that it was an orgy, but it was also where these guys will give up their seed.
Oh my gosh, really?
And to inseminate them, the process of their pregnancy and having children is a lot different than
oh my God.
And she's like, wow. She's kind of said that, and you said people were watching, so she's like, she was like, it's not an orgy, but it is a group of individuals, and that's how they did it. So but that's funny. So I guess Jen was alive then.
So which one is Jen?
Jen is my client. My client, it's like a long story, but she had a brain tumor, and that tied her to a different lifetime that I got into in Lemuria. So she was the ruler's daughter.
Okay.
So now I know how I know her.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know her well.
Yeah.
You think of her quite often when
I
you're in
think
your
of
happy
her so
times.
often. It's so funny. So
Do you have any sexual pull to her now?
not that I'm a woman, no. But it was interesting. It's interesting though, you know, to do these past life regressions. It's really interesting to just kind of just get a different perspective, you know, just kind of remember the other perspective.
When you did your business in the cup, were you underground?
No.
Was this the underground part?
This was in Lemuria.
This was still the island before the tragedy.
Before the tragedy.
Okay, now this makes sense. So this was before all this was happening and everything.
Yeah.
So you was one of the guys in the room in her story.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't know that she said that, but yeah, I'll have to listen to that. But that makes sense.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting. So yeah, so then I got on the boats like late when the waves hit. And yeah. And I know what happened to Jen from her own telling me. But what's so cool is to see somebody you know in the past life, you know, and have it be similar. It's
Let me ask you this: How did you know it was her?
I didn't know. I didn't recognize her or anything. I didn't know. Except I know from her telling me the story, it must have been her.
Yeah, because she was the princess. So
right. So it must have been her, I think. But like, I didn't look at her and think, "Oh, this is Jen." You know.
Gotcha.
I might have ruined the moment because you'd be like, "Oh, no, this is my friend."
Right.
You know, because sometimes they'll say, hey, look into the individual's eyes, and you know, the eyes will tell you if you know that person. And it's like sometimes right away they know who they are.
Right. Yeah.
In your case, though, you were probably looking at other body parts, so maybe
I think I was.
Yeah.
It's like interesting. It's no wonder like guys are the way they are, you know.
Gotcha. So, I guess were you the only one doing your business in this cup, or
no? There were other people.
So it was a mix. It was a soup.
Yeah, it was a mix. Yeah, it makes it worse. I know. But it was like, so they didn't have one.
You don't remember her story in the interview. That was part of her story.
I think I was like going to take care of my kid or something. I don't know, but it was so they didn't.
But that also confirms more of this story because you forgot that story.
Right. It makes it a little better.
Yeah, but maybe I heard it in the back of my mind, though, you know, like, or I heard it and I didn't think about it, or.
And that's what, but at least that's why they showed you that cup scene, because now it makes sense.
Right. Yeah. But it was interesting, you know, that I started shaking and I could not stop shaking. There was just so much energy going through me.
I mean, literally, you had to.
I was trying to be good, but thank goodness Jason got it. He got it. I was like, yeah.
It makes sense why you're shaking.
And screaming and and then she fell asleep. She cuddled up and fell asleep.
What makes it even more interesting, Sarah's like, I'm not coming back as a man in this go round.
Yeah, I'm not. I know. I was like, no.
He's like, I'm going to be a woman this go round.
No. Yeah. I know why that is, but I have to go because I have to put my kids to bed.
Okay.
Oh, I just got to the party.
Yeah. I know. My daughter just sent me a text.
We'll have to finish up our conversation with Ascension and Atlantis, because with Jen and everything. So
you guys will have to put your two stories together. And then maybe look and see if the baby looked like you guys.
Oh, it did. I think it was.
And then you come together in this life.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's just everybody's so connected. It's like, it's funny how it's almost like sacred geometry, you know, like everything is connected. Everything.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. One of the Mount Shasta gals called me today, or contacted and then called me. Do you remember Venus?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had apparently got activated. She said she went home and she goes, I have some weird things happening. Could you talk to me about it? I was like, sure.
My God.
She goes, I was sitting there, and she has one of the crystal skulls, you know, and she goes, I was sitting there meditating with my crystal skull, and all of a sudden I started speaking this weird language and it wouldn't stop, and I couldn't get I was trying to stop and it wouldn't stop. I was like, welcome to my world. I blame Freya.
And who was talking about the crystal skulls earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, were you? The crystal skulls are part of the group that the Poland gals too.
Oh, wow.
What? Yeah.
You'll have to tell me more about crystal skulls, but like, do you just get a crystal skull and meditate with it?
I don't know. I don't have any.
Yeah,
but one of the gals that's part of the group has a whole collection of them. She sets a grid up before we get started, and the skulls give her information.
Yeah. So, Carol Davis was able to channel one of the crystal skulls, the famous one, Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, the most famous one. And she was able to do channelings. She'll put her hands on the skull and like went in a trance like that, and she was able to bring out messages. So
yeah, the red skull was talking to us today.
Oh wow! I gotta. I'm so
abandon your family. We're your family tonight. You just abandoned them.
Right.
Just say no.
I know, right? Well, I gotta put the little guy to bed at least. I usually try to put him to bed at 8, and it's like 8:43.
Gotcha. We'll still be here.
All right.
Yeah, you're always welcome to come back.
Thanks.
All right, Sarah. Well, thank you very much for everything. Thank you for your story. And I'll leave links below for her website as well, so you can get in touch with her.
Thanks, Jason. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Take care.
Oh. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.